James is just having burgers, and probably he'll put some guacamole on. And I'm just having a cantaloupe and a grapefruit. And I'm gonna talk about some disgusting treats that are not treats at all.
They do call them, these are straws. Is that what they're calling?
Yeah, don't show the product name because I don't want them to cancel our video or something.
Yeah, they do call them straws. Okay. There we go.
Well, yeah, so I picked those up for free. I picked the coconut milk up for free too, and that I couldn't.
That was worth it?
Well, yeah, it's yummy, but when I stuck it in the fridge, it separated, but it didn't, the solid part wasn't solid enough to make whipped cream out of it. So that's unfortunate, but the product, it says 1% of it goes to Sri Lankan elephants or something.
Awesome.
So that's nice. Yeah. And I thought, maybe it would be better not to buy that coconut milk though, and buy a coconut milk that you can actually make into whipped cream, and then just give some money to some Sri Lankan elephants or whatever. I don't know, maybe they don't, I suppose the elephants don't need money, but they need food or some habitat, stuff like that,
I'm
right?
sure they're running out of habitat in Sri Lanka.
So, anyway, I got these products for free, and I'm always thankful to get products for free. I got them from the Salvation Army, and but they're disgusting. These are, they have no flavor, and they
didn't even put enough salt on it, right?
They try to suggest this is healthy, snack smart, guilt less, and on the top it said sensible portions, and I'm like, sensible portions of what? Like, this is made out of potato starch, potato flour. There's some dehydrated spinach, tomatoes.
Oh, is there?
Salt, cane, sugar, cornstarch, some turmeric, beetroot powder. But honestly, I'm wondering, is that like dehydrated spinach, tomatoes, beetroot powder? Maybe that's pulp.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't taste like spinach or tomatoes or beetroot. It's really,
doesn't taste like much.
It doesn't taste like anything. So I don't even think the turmeric. I think that's probably pulp. Because it has no flavor.
Turmeric is made to taste.
Yeah, it doesn't even taste like. There is some sea salt listed at the end. I couldn't detect it. Couldn't
no
even
salt
detect salt. This is a gross product.
Well, I kind of liked it okay, but that's because I was dipping it in your make of guacamole. I always want to say guacamole, but guacamole.
Sometimes I don't follow a recipe for anything anymore. I just make my own stuff. So, I don't. This time it's different than it was last night. Today I put a little bit of.
You were saying was pretty basic.
Yeah.
But
today I put. I put lime juice. Like, I juiced my own limes, and then I put avocado and minced garlic, and this time some salt and cumin.
So the salt and cumin wasn't in it last night, but it sure tasted good. So I went through these straws. Okay. You put a lot more on than I do.
Well, they taste like nothing, so.
Now they taste like guacamole.
Yeah. And, you can put this on your burgers or potato, whatever you want.
I'm going to save them for these things.
Okay.
And maybe put some on the potatoes. The burgers are plenty fine as is. But with the
she'd get cold otherwise. You can hear her crunching in there, though. She likes them.
Let's see. There's Angel there. She's kind of crunching down on this.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Yeah. So I bet you didn't even know she was in there. But there she is.
Then you heard the crunching sound, you're going, wow, their stomach's rumbling in a funny sort of way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're going to review something today.
Well, it's just previewing the finishing up of this. I've got about 100 pages left to go. It's quite an accomplishment I've gone through. about 1,600 pages of Old Testament and almost all of the New Testament, and then a few appendices and a little bit of introduction and stuff like that. There might be 60 pages of appendices and introduction. So I've come to the conclusion, and it's a firm conclusion, that Judaism is a violent religion, as is Islam, which is based on Judaism with a few wrinkles. The occasional wrinkle actually picked up from Christianity. Christianity in embryo, and for 300 years, was in contradistinction a religion of peace, love, if not flowers. And an amazing change of pace. And the sad thing is, like the Jewish religion was so violent that they ended up killing Jesus, the founder of Christianity. They killed Stephen, the first Christian martyr. They killed James, the brother of John, very early on. He was one of the first to go.
That one too.
They tried to kill Paul, who himself was a brutal interpreter of the Jewish religion. And I'm not saying a misinterpreter. Like what Jesus was saying was basically blasphemy and stuff like that. So, it was a violent religion. And so I got to make that distinction. Judaism isn't a violent religion anymore. It isn't. The foundational documents are violent, but it's not a violent religion anymore. And so I don't have to put out this challenge to the Jews, make your religion less violent, because they've done it, or had it done to them. I mean, they can't really...
So you want some of this?
Sure, exactly. They, for hundreds and hundreds of years, they lost their land, so they couldn't do... One of the types of violence was visiting, not just ethnic cleansing, but really genocide on their neighbors. And it was people that they'd moved in on, so...
No, you don't want grapefruit, Agent.
So, they weren't able to do that. And that went on. It was, there were two main galumps of that. There was the initial conquest of Canaan. Mm-hmm. And under Joshua, it's severely misdated conventionally. It would be dated to around 1200 BC, based on Babylonian material, Egyptian material, dating by eclipses, radiocarbon dating, any variety of things. It would be dated to about, and like data actually from as far afield, oddly enough, as Greece, Mesopotamia, historical stuff, not legendary or mythic, and India and China. You can date it to about, and dendrochronological work, it would be dated about 1850 BC. Somewhere, plus or minus about 50 years, shall we say. 1850 BC. It's a long time ago. So the challenge should be for Christians is, especially for Roman Catholics, is give up the violence. It's not there in the original Christian documents, and that includes not just the Bible, but the stuff from the Church Fathers. Give up the violence. That's a challenge to Christians, because it's not there. It's not there in the original stuff. It's shameful what the Catholic Church has done to Christianity. It's gotten a little bit better under the influence of Protestantism, the better parts of Protestantism, and humanism, secular humanism. But it's still there, and Protestantism has proved a little bit better than Catholicism. Originally, when it started off, it was pretty violent. Martin Luther and Jean Calvin were both prone to whacking their opponents and things like that. And it wasn't just Roman Catholic opponents. like where it would be like something seen as defensive or offensive, kind of like preemptive. That's a challenge to Christians. Here's the challenge to Muslims. You are like the Jews, have in the foundational documents, you've got a violent religion. Many of you don't, there are all sorts of Muslims that never read the Quran. And they don't really know what's in there and stuff like that. They want to be good. But you can't be good if you follow the precepts down to the letter of Islam. The thing is, like there are some good things in there. Take care of widows and orphans. Yes, in the Quran there. But it's in the Old Testament. It's not an original. It's not terribly original. If you run across an ethical system that says don't take care of widows and orphans, as in capitalism, at least hardcore capitalism, it's wrong. So it's in Christianity too. I mean, Christianity basically says treat thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah, but the first thing, the best way to take care of widows and orphans is to not make them widows.
Well, that's the sad thing, it's in the Old Testament. Take care of widows and orphans, and yet, it could be said.
If you go around stoning their mothers, well.
Well, I mean, that's one problem. But you see, Muhammad himself created, according to the Victor Impact Statements, not Victim Impact Statements, 1,000 widows and orphans in one day. 1,000. Yeah. So I suppose an excuse could be made for the Jews when they weren't Jews, they were Hebrews at that point in time. There were some of them were Jews, but predecessors of the Jews, Israelites, when they conquered the so-called Holy Land, the Promised Land, as it was characterized in the Old Testament, they didn't leave widows and orphans. They were told to kill men, women, and children. So, yeah, pretty sad. Pretty sad. So that's the challenge. The challenge to Jews is to keep on keeping on. What happened? They sedentarized. You can see that they started off being mean and nasty in the Promised Land, and then all of a sudden their neighbors were pounding. I was going to say the second stage of that was when they first created the kingdom under Saul, and particularly David and Solomon. They were visiting vengeance on their neighbors. It said that I believe it was Solomon or David actually had, at least for a while, extended his rule over Palmyra, Tadmor, Palmyra. Geez, that's way off I think it's in Syria, but it's kind of like halfway to Babylonia. And it said that David extended his reach, the long arm of the lawlessness, as far as I'm concerned, all the way to the Euphrates. Well, that's well into Syria. So they were pretty mean and nasty, and like David was a semi-civilized kind of guy. He did apparently write a number of the lyrics to a number of psalms, and I presume he wrote the tunes. He was something of a harpist, something like that back in the day. And I think that's when they started turning it around. The Jews became a civilization, shall we say, of culture and learning. So David and Solomon was, I guess, illiterate too. Presumably he wrote his the Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, and the Song of Solomon, and also the Wisdom of Solomon, which isn't in the Old Testament, strictly speaking, but in the Apocrypha. So, a lot of things happened, between the conquest and now. So now, the Jews, I'd say, are the nationality that's the most civilized in the whole world. Despite the origins, the violent origins of their religion, the tests that I've heard about, the results I've heard about, indicate that Jews have the highest IQ on average of any nation in the world. And there are a number of things that are involved. I think the fact that they tended to, wherever they went, where they were scattered, they ended up having to be merchants of some sort or another. And of course, when you get the faux gauches going, oh man, merchants, that's like capitalists and stuff like that. Well, come on. This is pre-capitalist kind of stuff. Capitalism is a recent phenomenon. And I know this is anathema to faux gauches and stuff like that, but there are way worse things than capitalists. What capitalists do? And I'm not talking about merchants necessarily. I'm talking about capitalists. What they do is they steal from people. The smartest of them, and the nicest, which isn't to say necessarily they're nice, is they embezzle, which is the softest form of stealing. They're trying to take as much as they can without being noticed.
Like bank interest.
Bank interest, exactly right. And here we go. Like we're not quite a monopoly, but we're a oligopoly, and we'll take we'll take this. They won't notice, that sort of stuff. Or if they do, they won't notice enough to really care and do something. But every other system that I've run across, or has tried to run across me, has been, see, like Marx, what was it he said? All property begins with theft. No. Robbery. So that's what the Marxists did, of course, when they got into the saddle of power. They're going around riding a horse of oppression, and they're robbing from people. What's the difference? Theft is where you're trying to sneak stuff away from people. Robbery is where you're using force, or the threat of force. And that's what Marxism is about. It's about force, or the threat of force. Here's my challenge to the commies out there. You learn real hegemony, where you fool people into liking you and cooperating with you, instead of forcing it out of people. So you try to get to the point where you can at least steal from people instead of robbing them. So much for Antonio Gramsci and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to make that clear. When I say Judaism is a violent religion, that's only an embryo. And that embryonic stage lasted for a couple of thousand years, to the point where Jesus suffered the ultimate penalty from it. And plenty of others of his followers and things like that. But that lasted for a couple of thousand years. But for a couple of thousand years, Judaism has been pretty anodyne. Like I want other religions to look at Judaism and say, what happened? How come it's so civilized and gets civilized? That includes Catholics, it includes Christians, it includes Southern Baptists and things like that. Get civilized. Okay? I'm being nice to you.
Right.
And so many of you don't deserve it.
Is that it then?
Yep.
All right.